Okay, so this program, I call this my BrandSpeak program. You may recognize pieces and parts of this. There's a lot of companies use pieces and parts. I first discovered this working with a guy named Scott Bedbury. If you do some research on Scott Bedbury, he's sort of like, he was one of the phenoms in the branding world. He's worked with Nike, Adidas, several other giant brands, Starbucks. He's an amazing genius on this stuff. I found some of his programs impractical for startup or smaller businesses. Mid-sized companies worked really well for giant companies with big budgets, but didn't work really well when you're just trying to make sure that you're profitable as you grow. So I've made some adjustments to the overall program, and then just through using it year after year, I've also made adjustments. And so essentially, the way that this program starts is, step one is discovery. Okay? Basically, it's figuring out who you are. It's figuring out your differentiation. I use the word brand a lot. People don't know or understand what a real brand is. Real brand is your reputation. It's a key word trait that defines you and your brand as it's a reputation that you're looking for. Guys in the internet marketing world get that pretty easily. When I work with steel companies or any other type of businesses, you know, the service sector, mostly they don't know or understand what a brand is. So I have to spend a lot of time on telling them that, you know, brand is a feeling you get about the company, and you need to define that feeling. Something that might help you out, even though we know that is the case, something that might help you out is that I do a discovery program. It's about 4 hours long that I work with these companies. We figure that out. It helps if you look at these three things: your company, your product, and the people. And you just come up with keyword traits that you like to define those three aspects of your business. You know, I want our company to be known as modern, energetic, forward-thinking problem solvers. I want our product to be, it needs to be stable. I want our product to work. I want it to be reliable. Our people, I want them to be extremely smart. I want them to be kind. I want them to be generous. You come up with keyword traits under these categories, and then you start to look at common denominators in those keyword traits, and that will help guide you to figuring out what that brand reputation is that you're wanting. That's a good way to kind of skip through it. I'm going to cut all this really short. It's usually a lot longer, but I know that you don't want to spend all that time. So the second thing you do is your image and identity. So if this is who you are, this ends up being your brand. Let's pretend that your brand ends up being smart. I'm just going to use that word for now. So your brand is smart. Your products are smarter. Everything you do is smart. Your image and identity needs to reflect that. And so the image and identity would be the name of your new venture, your logo, obviously, tagline. But more importantly, it'll be your colors. I shouldn't say more importantly. It'll be your colors. It will be I use texture. I love to use texture to describe. And all of these wrapped up, if the brand is your reputation, the image and identity is your character. It's the clothes you wear in public. It's the way you act. It's your voice. So this is your character. It needs to feel smart. It needs to have a smart voice. The colors, the tagline, the logo, the name all need to reflect what you want your image and identity to be. It's very important for a company to do that right out of the box. So you usually don't have a second chance with customers. You only have a first impression to make that happen. Third step is your sweet spot, which I call formulas, processes, and planning. Okay, this is where you create your standard operating procedures, your SOPs. This is where you design, this is where you do your marketing strategy. This is where you instill the ask methodology, find out what your customers want. A lot of people start here. I'm gonna say something. A lot of people would advocate that you start by asking your customers what they want. And I think that is a mistake. And I say that's a mistake because that you know your business enough to figure these things out first. If you go to your customer first and say, what do you want? As far as like, what are you looking for in a company? I think that you're going to be missing out. And I'm going to use Starbucks as an example. If Starbucks would have went to customers and said, what are you looking for at the time? The customers didn't necessarily know. They were drinking Folgers on a burnt stove, right? So they didn't know that they wanted an experience. They didn't understand or know that. Howard Schultz dreamed that up in his head. That was his vision. He created his brand based off of what he wanted from his inside. Then he developed his experience around that. And then he went to his customers and said, okay, so this is the experience I want to provide. What is it that you like? Do you like lattes? Do you like cappuccinos? You know, those kind of things. He did do customer insight, but only at a certain point. And I think that a lot of people make a mistake of doing this too soon for a couple reasons. One is, that's what everybody's doing. So then everybody is the same. Everybody they went and asked their customers, what color flag do you like? They say red. Well, then everybody's holding the red flag up. Instead of sitting down with your own self and writing down your own manifesto first, figuring out what you want, and then delivering all that, then going to your customers and saying, how do you want it delivered? I just want to throw that in. Fourth is what I call internalization. This is basically our communications plan, internal. This is our platform, culture, platform. Zappos has I'm sure you heard of Zappos. They have a culture book, this is basically, how do I communicate this to any contractors, the virtual assistants I'm using, all the people that I'm working with. How do I communicate these things? And so you need to have some sort of plan for that. I mean, for Full Bucket, when we launched it, this is how we launched Full Bucket. We figured that we wanted little laminated cards that go in the wallet. We took our brand identity and we tried to integrate it into several communication devices as a reminder to our employees, as a reminder to our vendors, who we are and why we do things the way we do. This right here will drive the voice, all the other things. People know if you hire an email writer to help write emails, they write it in the right voice because they have your device that teaches them, what your brand is. And then finally, the fifth element is externalization. My handwriting sideways is really abysmal. I apologize. Externalization, this is essentially, your website. It's you in public. It's your website, it's your sales literature, it's your presentation and its style. This is all the elements. This is basically what all the subcontractors do. It's your email program. This is you taking it to the market. This is your launch. And this is what most people jump right to. Instead of going through this process first and having these things in place, they jump to this, and what happens is that it weakens the brand, it slows you down, it waters it down. You don't have it set up correctly. This doesn't take a long time. I've put together programs that take literally 4 weeks to put all of these things in place, get it ready, at least know. And especially when you're at your size, you can sit down with a notebook and knock these things out left and right. And by the time you get to this point when you're ready to roll it out, you've got documentation that you can hand over. You've got a better idea in your head of how you want to get there. And this process will help manifest a brand, and you can be different. And I'm going to go back. I skipped a couple things. This discovery process for what you want to do, I think, is really important, because it's sort of the purple cow thing, is that everybody has how-to books. You want to be first to market with something that's different. So you need to figure out a way to name and package that up that does that in the marketplace. If you look at Tim Ferriss, Tim Ferriss wrote a time management and virtual assistant and outsourcing book. And if he would have positioned it as a time management, a virtual assistant, and outsourcing book, I think that he would have found minimal success, and he would even agree with that. By tapping into something like the 4-hour work week, which, by the way, he didn't go out and, he did a lot of testing. I won't say he didn't. But the 4-hour work week was a thought process that he had during this thing of what he wanted to deliver to people, and it was done in such a way that people responded immediately. And I think that's what you need to do, is sit down and take a look at what you actually are providing the people and figure out your way to spin it, your 4-hour work week, your way of delivering that uniquely. And I think your success will be quite a bit more. So I don't know if you found any use in this or if this was all old hat for you. Doesn't matter. You were on my mind. I appreciate the things that you do. I think you're an awesome guy. I just wanted to share this real quick, and I'm sorry it took so long. Be careful.